Red Magic has introduced a new gaming mouse in China during its 11S Pro launch event. The mouse uses a full carbon fibre top shell with a magnesium aluminum alloy base. This design brings its weight down to 49 grams without using a plastic chassis.
The government of Pakistan has introduced the National Skill Competency Test, NSCT, for IT graduates to bridge the gap between academic learning and industry requirements in the information technology sector. According to a Ministry of IT and Telecom document, the initiative comes amid concerns that despite producing a large number of ICT graduates every year, inconsistencies in skill standards and limited alignment with market needs have affected employer confidence and restricted the growth of high-value IT exports. City Traffic Police Lahore has finalised a traffic management plan for 6 cattle markets established across Lahore ahead of Eid al-Adha, with more than 200 traffic wardens deployed to manage traffic flow and assist traders and visitors. Chief Traffic Officer Lahore Syed Abdul Rahim Shirazi said zonal officers from the City and Sadar divisions would supervise arrangements at all cattle markets. Under the plan, 6 DSPs, 18 sector in charges, and over 200 wardens have been assigned duties, while 6 forklifts will remain operational to remove encroachments and illegally parked vehicles.
The University of Health Sciences, UHS, in collaboration with UNICEF, has launched the first phase of a capacity-building programme aimed at integrating nutrition and child health interventions into the MBBS curriculum across Punjab. The initiative began with a 3-day training workshop on community-based management of acute malnutrition, attended by medical educationists, paediatricians, public health experts, and healthcare trainers from medical colleges and teaching hospitals across the province.
Pakistan stands at a defining economic crossroads. With a population of over 240 million, a youthful demographic, rising smartphone penetration, and rapidly evolving digital infrastructure, the country should by now have emerged as one of the world's most vibrant digitally banked economies. Yet financial exclusion remains deeply entrenched. According to the State Bank of Pakistan, SBP, nearly 53% of Pakistan's adult population remains financially excluded, while only around 2.4% has access to formal credit facilities. These figures represent millions of Pakistanis who continue to rely on undocumented cash transactions, informal borrowing, and economically inefficient systems that constrain productivity and limit upward mobility. Chief of Defence Forces, CDF, and Chief of the Army Staff Field Marshal Asim Munir on Tuesday asserted that propaganda, fake news or externally sponsored terrorism could not derail Pakistan's progress. The Field Marshal made the remarks while interacting with officers and troops of formations to Quetta, according to the military's Media Affairs wing.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif arrived in Quetta on Tuesday for a one-day visit, according to the Prime Minister's office. PMO, Balochistan Governor Jafar Khan Mandokile, received the Prime Minister upon his arrival, his office said on a post on the social media platform X. Most members of Stanford's class of 2026 are smart, ambitious and poised for remarkable careers. Theo Baker already has one. In his first semester of college, Baker broke the story that forced Stanford President Mark Tessier-Lavigne to resign, work that earned him a George Polk Award, one of journalism's highest honours. Warner Brothers and producer Amy Pascal have optioned the rights to that story. And Tuesday, with graduation less than a month away, Baker publishes How to Rule the World, a sweeping account of his time at Stanford and the school's often insidious relationship with the venture capital industry. Judging by early interest, it has every chance of becoming a bestseller. We've been anticipating this one. We shared some related thoughts about it just a few weeks ago. We talked with Baker last Friday. This interview has been edited for length and clarity.
Federal Information Minister Atala Tarar on Monday rejected reports claiming that the government was considering increasing the minimum voting age from 18 to 25. Responding to a question, Tahrir said no such proposal was under consideration and dismissed the reports as rumours. The discussion surfaced after advisor to the Prime Minister on political and public affairs, Rana Sanaullah, recently stated that a proposal to raise the voting age was being discussed in connection with the proposed 28th constitutional amendment.
Russian President Vladimir Putin arrives in Beijing on Tuesday for talks with his Chinese counterpart and his longtime good friend Xi Jinping, intending to show their ties are unshakable days after a visit by Donald Trump. The confirmation of Putin's trip came just hours after Trump wrapped up his visit on Friday, the first by a US president to China in nearly a decade, and one aimed at stabilising their turbulent relations. The teaser and trailer for an upcoming film, Psycho, directed by Shan Shahid, were launched at a local hotel in Karachi on Sunday evening. The film will be released on Idol Azza.
On Tuesday, voters in Pennsylvania's 3rd congressional district, which encompasses much of Philadelphia's urban core, will decide what kind of progressive champion they want representing them in the United States House of Representatives. 4 candidates are vying for the Democratic nomination in Tuesday's primary. They include State Representative Chris Rabb, State Senator Sharif Street, pediatric surgeon Alla Stanford, and lawyer Sean Griffith. Pakistan's exports to the Middle East fell 8% year-on-year in April, underscoring the impact of regional conflict on the country's trade flows with one of its most important markets. Outbound shipments to the region dropped to 230.279 million during the month, with exports to the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain and Jordan all declining, according to central bank data. Exports to Saudi Arabia posted only marginal growth in April, signalling a sharp loss of momentum. Lahore. A newly married woman who was allegedly set on fire by her in-laws 2 days ago succumbed to her critical burns at Nishtar Hospital, Multan, on Monday. The young woman, Fuzia, 28, a resident of Jatoi Tehsil, had suffered critical burns at her house 2 days ago under mysterious circumstances.
Pakistan and 9 other countries on Tuesday issued a joint statement condemning Israel's interception of the global Sumud flotilla. The joint statement by the foreign ministers of Pakistan, Turkey, Bangladesh, Brazil, Colombia, Indonesia, Jordan, Libya, Maldives and Spain was shared by the Foreign Office on the social media platform X.
Less than a week after Xi Jinping rolled out the red carpet for US President Donald Trump, the Chinese leader is hosting another guest of honour, and this time it's a close ally. Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to arrive in the Chinese capital Tuesday for a state visit clearly calibrated to show Beijing and Moscow's alignment in the face of global geopolitical upheaval.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has hailed Moscow and Beijing's deepening ties as a stabilizing force on the world stage ahead of talks with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. In an address ahead of a 2-day visit to China that begins on Tuesday, Putin said, Moscow and Beijing do not wish to align against any other country, but work together for peace and universal prosperity.
Some constitutions die by coup. Others are buried quietly, clause by clause, beneath the respectable cover of parliamentary arithmetic. Pakistan's constitution is, we are told, rigid. Article 239 demands that any amendment be passed by a 2/3 majority of the total membership of each House of Parliament. Where provincial boundaries are touched, the relevant assembly must agree by the same margin. This is supposed to be the great lock on the constitutional door, protection against temporary passions, executive overreach, and rulers who cannot resist rewriting the rules of the game.
Lahore. A newly married woman who was allegedly set on fire by her in-laws 2 days ago succumbed to her critical burns at Nishtar Hospital, Multan, on Monday. The young woman, Fuzia, 28, a resident of Jatoi Tehsil, had suffered critical burns at her house 2 days ago under mysterious circumstances. Lahore. The University of Health Sciences, UHS, on Monday launched the first phase of a 4-part capacity building program in collaboration with the UNICEF aimed at incorporating nutrition and child health interventions into the MBBS curriculum across Punjab. The initiative began with a 3-day training workshop on community-based management of acute malnutrition, SAMAM.
Or Islamabad. The federal government asked the provinces on Monday to increase their revenue contribution by at least Rs 400 billion, nearly 40% of their existing share, in the coming fiscal year through more effective collection strategies in agriculture, property and services to remain in the good books of the International Monetary Fund, IMF. At a consultative meeting with provincial finance ministers, Finance Minister Muhammad Aurangzeb conveyed the IMF's deep satisfaction over the robust fiscal performance of both the 4 provinces and the centre during the current fiscal year.
After military build-up in Middle East, Trump announces decision to hold off attack planned for Tuesday at Gulf states' request. Esmail Bakaye confirms exchanges through Pakistan continue. Iranian media claims Washington showing some flexibility. Persian Gulf Strait Authority formed to oversee traffic through Hormuz. Iran claims targeting militias in Iraq, Tehran, Washington. Hours after Iran said it had responded to a new US proposal aimed at ending the war, President Donald Trump said that he had decided to hold off a planned attack at the request of Gulf leaders.
The Permanent Court of Arbitration's supplemental award on Islamabad's decade-old petition challenging the design specifications of 2 Indian hydropower projects on rivers allocated to Pakistan under the Indus Waters Treaty is a definitive affirmation of the supremacy of international law over unilateral state actions. It places India in an increasingly untenable position, legally, diplomatically, and perhaps important, morally. The ruling removes whatever ambiguity India has been trying to exploit. By reaffirming that the IWT remains binding on both parties and that neither can unilaterally suspend it, the decision closes the door on India's irrational position that it can arbitrarily hold the treaty in abeyance. 2 teenage gunmen opened fire on Monday at the Islamic Center of San Diego, California, killing a security guard and 2 other men outside the mosque before the suspects were found dead, apparently from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Police said San Diego Police Chief Scott Wall said local law enforcement and the FBI were investigating the attack on the largest mosque in San Diego County as a hate crime.
3 people have been killed in a shooting at a mosque in San Diego, California, which officials believe was perpetrated by 2 teenage attackers. The shooting took place on Monday morning as officers were investigating a call about a possibly suicidal teen who had run away from home.
In the northwest corner of the United States, Oregon has fostered a reputation as a left-wing stronghold. Since the 1980s, the Beaver State has consistently elected Democrats in most of its statewide races. But even in a comfortably blue state like Oregon, the fight to hold on to political power can be competitive. The United States has said it will not take part in a joint board for continental defence with Canada, depicting the country as failing to live up to its defence obligations. On Monday, US Undersecretary of Defence Elbridge Colby wrote on social media that his department would halt its involvement in the Permanent Joint Board on Defence to recess the forum's benefits.
At a rally in a parking lot outside his campaign headquarters in Florence, Kentucky, on Saturday, Congressman Thomas Massie said that the Republican politicians who joined him had made a brave choice. "I'm sure they'll be punished for coming here today," he said.
As dawn breaks, hundreds of men gather at a dusty square in Chagcharan, the capital of Ghor province in Afghanistan. They line the roadside, hoping someone will come along offering any work. It will determine whether their families eat that day.
Alabama is one of the several states in the United States heading to the polls on Tuesday for primary elections. But this primary season has an unexpected hiccup for voters in the deep red southern state. Some may have to return to the ballot box in a few months.